Hi, welcome back. So from the short teaser video, I guess the question was, are you guys ready? Because we certainly are. So to show that you guys are back, could you give me some reactions, virtual reactions, a smiley face, a gesture, whatever. Nice one. Few thumbs up, few hearts, few waves. Perfect. Okay. Actually, when I first started, we actually had some questions from the audience regarding the judging criteria. I think some of them are pretty important for us to address now. So I'll go through a few that has been quite repetitious. All right, let's start with the easy ones. Yep. So one question was, could you let us know if it's possible to get criteria explained in detail in written form? The answer is yes. It's actually on the website. So if you go onto our Temasek Sustainability website, so not only would you get the judging criteria, you get the timeline. So that is quite an easy one. So then make sure you get all the information there. If you still are unclear, please do not hesitate to write to us at sustainability@arkki.sg. Yeah, so that's one question. Another one is, and it's quite interesting. So thanks for the brief. May I clarify if we can choose our country of case study, and do we come up with our own problem statement? So to answer the second question first, yes, you do come up with your own problem statement, but obviously it has to address the urban issue of sustainability. And if you use a city as a case study, please be sure to put in as many contexts, which is a site-specific context as much as possible, so that the judges have, as much information that they can have to in order to give you a fair judgment. Yep. So by when can we have the one-on-one session, and is there any last dates for it? So each one-on-one session ideally should follow shortly after our workshops. So for example, the first one will start right after the prototyping workshop, and the second one will start right after the storytelling workshop. So this is to ensure that you're at the correct stage you're at. So people who are maybe far ahead, good, we can actually help refine the idea. People who have, are still in the ideating or prototyping process, then we can help you firm up your idea a bit better to help converge your already divergent ideas. So the last dates for those are all in your Calendly. So if you're assigned to any one of our 6 coaches, so please go into the calendars, you'll be able to see a specific time frame that you can choose, okay? And then once you click on Calendly, it will automatically come up with a iCal, and then your coach will actually receive a notification. It's very straightforward. Okay. Integration with other systems in the city can differ for each country, right? Absolutely, because no city is made the same, right? So all the challenges that you face would be slightly different. So for example, maybe in Singapore, our integration is much more integrated, so there are more things to consider. Whereas maybe in a more rural or suburban area in other cities, you may want to consider 2 or 3 major factors in order to get your ideas off the ground, right? So all these, again, comes to a context in which you want to be as explicit as possible. Okay. Would we have to be in the 3-minute video? So no, you don't have to be. For the camera shy ones, you don't have to be. You can always show your animation. You can do like you can do a fly through of the cities. You can have a lot of charts, or it can be a PowerPoint. You don't actually have to be a talking head to speak. But it'd be really good if you could, perhaps have a voiceover or have text, so that when the judges read or view your video, it actually comes alive. Right? So the whole point is to really connect with the audience as you try to convince them why your solution is the best solution. Okay. If we get chosen for the top 6 ideas, would we have to go to Singapore for the Eco-Prosperity Week showcase? As much as I would love to invite you to come to Singapore to visit me, the answer is no, you don't have to come. So it'll be a virtual event where you will be there, you'll be beaming in, and it's like I'm beaming in now, and then you'll be actually speaking to our 5 judges. Are there any other questions we feel that is important, or maybe we've got the gist of it? If anything, please, again, write to us directly, okay, at our email address, and then we'll try to answer. And maybe another way we could move forward is we will compile all the questions and the answers, and it will send them out to everybody. So stay tuned to get a mass mail from us. So now let's move on to our next segment. I would love to welcome one of our Arkki coaches, Stuti Koshek, to walk us through the ideating workshop. Welcome, Stuti.
Thank you, Ting Ting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're logging in from. I'm so glad to have all of you over here. I was looking through your team names, and some of you have such interesting names. I'm so glad you've been doing that. For those who don't have their team group names on Zoom, please see to it that you do that right away. I am Stuti Kaushik, and I will be taking you through our segment for today, and I'll be talking you through the ideating process. So, but before we do that, let's start with a very simple question. Why do we need design? Can we also please have the slides on? All right. So, a very simple question. Why do we need design? Design is everywhere around us. From the time we wake up, till the time we sleep, to the pen we use, to the water bottle that we use to drink our water, our toothbrush, cars, everything is designed, right? So why do we need a design? We need design for things to work. Now, if you've invited your friends or your team members for a cup of tea or coffee at your house, and if you use these mugs, I'm not quite sure if they're going to come back for the tea or coffee. So we want things to work. We need things to work rather well. Let's imagine you're running late for an interview or an appointment, and you come in to this lift lobby and you need to go on level 24. Oh, there's going to be so much panic. I can't find level 24. And if I'm already running late, there's going to be so much panic, so much frustration. So we need things to work well. If you look at the other image over here, the toilet and the door, I'm not quite sure I would want to go in. Lots of insecurity. Who would want to go in, right? It's crazy. But yes, these are out there. So we want things to work well and make an impact. If you look at this shirt over here, which should say, don't worry, be happy. But if any normal person reading it would be, don't be happy, worry. And we don't want that, right? Everyone's got their own worries. So we really want to understand, where are these designers? What are these designers lacking, right? Why are they not making an impact for all the designs that they've come up with? So we want to understand that, first of all, we need design for things to work well and make an impact. So what's going wrong over here? Let's try to find out. So we have a traditional problem-solving method where we define a problem. We say, hey, this is what the problem is. We come up with various solutions. We can come up with 1, 2, or multiple solutions. We analyze and aim to find the best solution. And how are we finding this best solution? Oh, I like it, so I think we should do it. Or the other team member says, no, I think we should go with this one. So we just go with that one. So we choose the best solution and we just launch it. But does that design actually work? It probably doesn't sometimes. And this is where designs fail. And we come up with shirts saying, don't be happy, worry. And we definitely don't want that, especially if we're tackling such complex problems, which we'll be discussing. So if you overall look into what's lacking, is the designers lacking empathy. They assume that they know what the end users want, but they probably might not be 100% if they know what they want. So there's a huge gap between that. So there's a new way of solving these complex problems, and that's a more user-centered way of solving problems, also called as design thinking. I'm quite sure most of you guys might have heard the term design thinking. If not, that's fine as well. So in design thinking, they usually take a general problem, they discover. And how do they discover? Through a lot of research. They find out what are the users' issues that they're facing. They observe, they do a lot of background research, they defined properly what the users' needs are. They develop these ideas. And with that, they actually test it. They make small prototypes and they test it. If it doesn't work, they go back again. So it's a very iterative process, and that's what we'll be deep diving inside today. So if you look at a user-centered problem-solving techniques qualities, first, it keeps humans' needs at the core center. You're designing, you'll be understanding who your users are. And of course, there are different users all around the world, right? So you would be focusing on who are your users. The second one is solving complex problems. And I will be talking more in detail about this one. And the third is that it's an iterative process. It's not a linear process. It is a non-linear process. So you will be going back and forth. And that's the beauty of design thinking. And the last and the most important one, that there's a collaboration between the users and the designers. So now that you all have been wearing your designer hats, let's jump into understanding a bit more in detail of what design thinking is all about. So the first stage of design thinking starts with the empathizing phase. So what is empathizing? This empathizing phase is where we're trying to understand what do our users actually want? What are the problems that they're facing? You will be conducting a lot of background information, background research about the topics. It's also sometimes important to observe these users, because they might be saying that, hey, we want these things, but they actually might not need these things. So it's really important to have empathy with all your users and understand these points quite clearly. So once we know what the problems are, we come up with the problem statement. That, okay, this is what it is. This is what we need to tackle. With that, with all the background information, with all the users' information that you have, we then start ideating. Now, because you would also look into the research, you might also look into the existing design precedents. So some ideas, most of your ideas would be out of the box. And this is the stage where it's going to be helping you to come up with different ideas, right? So now that we've got ideas, what do? Do we just launch it? No, that would be the traditional way of doing it. So we actually would make small prototypes and see to it that does it actually work? We could make a complete prototype, or we could make a specific prototype of a specific function that your design or service would be doing. So with that, if anything fails, we can rectify it. We can work on it. Certain things might be great, certain things might not be great. So that's where we'll be looking at. So we'll be testing these as well. So once you start testing, you yourself would understand where are we falling short. And that's when we can go back to our ideating or our empathizing or defining phase. So that's the beauty of design thinking. So we're going a lot of back and forth. And once we think, yes, this is it, we actually implement it. So like I said earlier, if you look at design thinking, it's broadly categorized into three parts, which first would be understanding, second would be exploring, and third would be then to materialize. And it is a non-linear process. So there is a lot of back and forth. I know most of us, when we start using design thinking, we have ideas or we have solutions that we want to go through that. Yes, that's a great one. But do also look into the research. Has it already been done? Prototype it. And I'm sure you will go back and forth. Sometimes it can be a little disappointing as well when your prototypes don't work. That's okay. That's where you dust yourself out and be like, okay, let's go for another round. So that's what we'll be doing with our competition as well. But design thinking comes very, very helpful for wicked problems. Now, what are these wicked problems? So there's a simple term that has come up, which is tamed and wicked problems. So in 1970, when there was a lot of policies making and planning that was coming up, there was this term that was introduced, tamed versus wicked. So a tamed problem is a very direct problem where you can have a scientific approach, or it can be like a mathematical approach that 2 + 2 is 4, and that's not going to change. Whereas a wicked problem is a way more complex problem. Let me give you a quick example. Climate change. There's no direct solution to that, is there? So we need to understand these. So what exactly, and we will be dealing with wicked problems. So a tame problem, like I said, can be clearly stated and has an ambiguous goal, a solution which is right or wrong. Whereas a wicked problem is quite ill-defined, and the solutions can be good, bad, or just adequate. They are problems that are not solved, but addressed, right? So with that, this would give you a very good way of explaining tamed versus wicked problem. Where a wicked problem, where we have a problem, we come up with a solution, and more problems, more solutions, and the cycle goes on. And that's where we'll be using design thinking to our rescue. Now that you all are the future leaders, the designers, and that you will be tackling a complex, wicked problem today, what capacities do you need to have? So the first and the most important one is empathy. Understand what your users want. Understand, like most of you guys asked the question, would we have to keep our location into context? Absolutely. So you will have to perform research and have empathy for your site specific. You need to be optimistic. You need to have that confidence. You need to have that, hey, it's going to work out, and you need to come up with different solutions. Embrace ambiguity. There are going to be different times when things might not work according to what you wanted, might work what you wanted. So it can be good, bad, or ugly, and that's okay. We again and again would keep trying it. The fourth one, make it. I know everything looks great on the papers, but it actually might not work. So we need to get down and actually try out these designs that we're coming up with. When we do that, it might not work, which is okay as well. And that's the time when most of us are frustrated, annoyed. It's okay. We are humans. We have emotions, and that's okay. Take some time off and learn from your failures, because that's going to be really, really important. Keep iterating. Keep trying out what's failing, what's working. If you just iterate once, your design solution might not come up to be as great as it should be. So keep iterating. Creative confidence. You have all the tools. You've got all the methods now. It's all with you. So have that confidence and come up with some amazing ideas. So, but before we do that, I also want to give you great examples of how companies have used design thinking. Has everyone heard of Netflix and Nike? I'm sure you all have. Netflix. How was life before Netflix? I'm not quite sure if any one of you remember actually going to a shop to get a DVD, CD, or even VCDs. When I was a kid, I used to go with my parents to get a CD or a DVD for a movie. And I remember if there was a new movie that was out there, I had to wait. We had to wait. There used to be a long register. We had to wait for a couple of months. And imagine waiting for a suspense thriller movie, and then everyone's talking about it. So you kind of know the end, which wasn't so good, right? So there was this entire complexity. So Netflix decided, let's come up with something new. So they wanted to have this online on streaming on demand, when wherever you want, however you want, you just click a few buttons and you would have a movie or your series with you. So they used design thinking. They understood the user's pains of going in to a shop, driving or taking the bus, going in, waiting for a CD or a DVD, And sometimes even after you get it, it might not be the best print quality. So you might be watching a really bad print movie. And that's not a good experience, is it? So they understood these pain points of all the users and came up with something which was way ahead of its time. Came up with Netflix. And how convenient is Netflix today, right? All of us can just watch a movie or a series wherever we want. If you're having lunch, just quickly, you can just watch it on your phone, on a big screen, on your laptop. And it's a good design. So we've adapted to it so well, right? Another example is Nike. Nike is a sports brand which first started empathizing with what its athletes want. It heard all its athletes and decided to come up with the best shoes. And they were the best. But then they went beyond that to understand that, hey, what about the rest? Can the rest of the public use it as well? So they came up to understand how the fashion is. And they used design thinking again to come up with this brand. And now whenever Nike launches a shoe, all of us are out there waiting for it to grab our pair, right? So there are these interesting ways of how you can be using design thinking as well. So with that, shall we start with the game? So it's a very, very interesting game. Enough of me talking, and I want you guys to start thinking now. So it's a very interesting game, and I will be putting in a user, a challenge, and an activity. They're going to be random users, random challenges, and random activities. So let's have a look. So your users can be anyone. Could be students, could be bus drivers, senior citizens who are active, entrepreneurs, any of these, okay? So I'm just going to give you a glance of who our users could be, what our challenges could be. Food shortage. All of us faced that during COVID, didn't we? Water pollution, overcrowding. If you're going to work at a peak hour, if you're going to your university or class early in the morning, squeezing in the trains and bus, we've all faced that. These are the different challenges that we'll be tackling. Activities. We've got running, caring, traveling, talking. So these are going to be the different activities that we'll be looking at. So it's a very, very interesting game. And what we want you to do is with the user, with the challenge and the activity, we want you to come up with a design solution that addresses the user, challenge, and the activity. Let me show you a quick example of this. Just right. So we've got a user. This is just an example. So this is going to help you come up with your innovative solutions for this quick round. So our users, I'm going to take it as tourists. My challenge is going to be deforestation. Again, it's a wicked problem. It's a complex problem. It doesn't have one solution. So I'm still going to address it. And my activity is hiking. Now, how do these three come up with an association? How am I going to do that? Very interesting. So after a lot of thinking, I came up with this. So a tourist, that's my user, is going to be traveling around the globe, trying to understand the problem of deforestation. So what does the tourist do? He selects different countries to understand different issues by actually hiking, my activity, in the forest. Then he uses AI to create all of these experiences for people in urban settlements to raise awareness and help protect our forest. Does that help? So we're using the user, challenge, and activity to come up with a very innovative solution. Okay? So with that, let's actually give it a try, shall we? So now would be a good time for your team members to just collaborate real quick, and I will be coming up with a user, a challenge, and an activity. So let's have a look at a different user. Give me a second. Yes. So are you all ready? Okay, let's have a look at the different users. So we've got students, urban farmers, pro athletes, tourists, pet owners, parents, delivery persons. I bet you all might have seen or met or talked to them, so you know a little bit about them. So these are your users. We still haven't picked one user yet. I'm just giving you an example of the different challenges now. We've got overcrowding, global warming, healthcare, housing crisis, overpollution, acid rain, biodiversity loss, all of these, okay? And the last one, activity. Could be sightseeing, talking, reading, meditating, walking a dog, anything. So with that, let us now pick one from each. So let's randomly choose one, and your job would be now to come up with a design innovation, which would be taking these three into consideration and then putting it up on Slido. So we're going to be using Slido. If you don't know what Slido is, our team has put it up on the chat. So now would be a good time for you to quickly just jump onto Slido as well. So shall we select our three words? So our three words are going to be, it's getting selected. There is the words getting selected, and we have the user as student. We've got the challenge as plastic pollution and our activity as exercising. So again, I'm going to read out again. We've got our user as the student, challenge as plastic pollution. All of you guys know what plastic pollution is, and activity as exercising. So with these three, come up with a cool design innovation and put it up on Slido. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. Now would be a good time for you to check in with your team and come up with great solutions. So the first team that comes up with a great solution is going to get a round of applause from all of us. So with that, get on to Slido real quick, and I'm waiting for all of you with all your innovative ideas. I can see only 12, 13 people typing. Can I request everyone to be on Slido with their answers? Crash to cash. I hope you guys are writing on Slido as well. Renopolis, I hope you guys are writing on Slido as well. Yep, we're getting more and more participants typing on Slido. That's great. We are getting some really interesting answers. So proud of you guys. Team Pragati, I hope you guys are writing on Slido as well. Team The Fairy, I hope you guys are on Slido as well. time's almost coming to an end, so see to it that you're quickly popping in all your answers. Just have a few more minutes. Quickly write it down. Make sure that each group puts in their solution. Good job, everyone. Looking at all your answers, I know for a fact that this is going to be a really tough competition. So good job, everyone. I'm just going to pick a few and I'm going to read it out loud. So the first one I am going to read out is going to be from Ellie Kim. So she says that it's an app that encourages students to exercise by implementing reward system with points that can be earned by a number of steps that they take during their walks or jogs outside. During this exercise, they may encounter trash, which we all do, around the streets and around the areas that they are encountered to pick up. So for each trash picked up, they will be able to earn more points as well as learn about plastic pollution. With these points, they can donate to selected environmental organizations. That's a great one. Excellent one. I'll be taking you through another one. So this one's by George, who says students could help in reducing plastic pollution by picking them up or bringing them back to school to recycle when they're out to exercise with their school masters or during learning journey organized by the school. So this is going to be very school specific. And the plastic could be used for science experiments. That is quite nice. And I'm going to go with a last one, which is going to be students have a beach cleanup activity and the beach sports and games where they collect various plastic waste, such as grocery bags, old plastic bag litters on the shores, and then a reward and relax. And then as a reward, they relax at the end of the day at the beach. Great answers, everyone. Give yourself a round of applause. I think you guys have done excellent, and for sure, this is going to be a really tough competition. But that's great, isn't it? So with that, shall we go for a round 2? Yes, give me a thumbs up. Okay. So with that, let's go to round 2. So for our round 2, we're going to have new sets of users, new challenge, and new activity. So we're going to do the same process. As soon as you come up with a design solution, put them up on Slido. So we're going to be using the same Slido. So are we ready for round 2? Let's go for it. So for round 2, let's look at all the users. Let's select one. I know you guys are hoping to have your favorite ones. I know you might have a design solution already prepared for that. So let's see what we have for our round 2. We've got nature lover as our user, housing crisis as our challenge, and recycling as our activity. So with that, shall we start looking into the game again? So nature lover is your user, your challenge is housing crisis, and your activity is recycling. So come up with amazing, great solutions again, and let's see who's the first one to put it up in Slido. The participants, you've got 10. Come on, I need more. 12. Start thinking, start discussing, collaborating. Oh, we've already got one answer. That is such a nice one. I know somebody's got inspired by Prasoon. So a nature lover solves the housing crisis by creating eco bricks made from recycled material. Fantastic. I'm so glad that you were paying attention. That also shows that you're paying attention. Very, very proud of you. Good job. You don't have to restrict yourself for just one solution. If your team has come up with multiple, we would like to see multiple solutions, and that'll be even better. So don't just focus on one solution. The more you have, the better it is. Look at all the answers. Look at all you guys. Amazing, amazing answers. It is really impressive to see how everyone's thinking and how everyone has got deep dive into this and coming up with such amazing solutions. So I'm going to read out a couple, just going to randomly select. So nature lover helps build a floating house on the beach with mangrove woods. That's by Kelvin. Great answer. It's a simple one line, very on point, very strong. The next one that we're going to read is design tent from used building materials. So these tents are incremental that can be extended by adding recycling building material. Very cool, very cool. Let's take another one. Just going to randomly select one. Repurposing, this is by Malvika. Repurposing abandoned malls, amusement parks to create a community housing with vertical gardens. Very impressive, very impressive. And I think we've got time for just one more. So let's see which one can we select. So co-sharing living space models that integrate greenery in the building, example, plants, green walls, etc., that also have recycling facilities that can turn recyclables into cashbacks on tent. And the other one, let's look into nature lovers help categorize and recycle specific landfills to make space for potential housing construction. Nature lovers can also spread seeds of edible plants, that's impressive, when they go hiking or trekking to attract people to go live in adventurous and wild places. Very cool, very cool. So good job, all of you guys. It was a very, very impressive solutions that you guys have come up with. And I did see that many of you have come up with different solutions. So to the teams that have come up with not just one, but 2 or 3 solutions, bravo, good job. So now that we've started looking into these complex problems, let's look into a bit deeper to understand what are we actually proceeding with. So we are designing for an increasingly complex world, aren't we? We are living in a very complex world. The world has gotten more complex than it used to be. Our global connections means even just our food that we eat is getting shipped from halfway across the world. And we did see that, and we did feel about all of this during COVID, didn't we? Where we had shortage suddenly. Our population is growing extraordinarily fast, and the increasingly want of being in the urban centers. Our economies are linked with each other to such an extent that the stock market crashes in America, and the world can see the global recession, right? So, and of course, the weather has been quite funny. We know global warming, right? So all at a time, we are so interlinked with each other that every single minute of the day, we are so connected, right? So we need to understand that we're designing for a very complex world. So that leads me to our challenge. So can we actually imagine ourselves to be living in a net zero, urban net zero space? Now that, half of the world's population is now living in urban areas, we need to actually reprioritize and start thinking about our planet, our society, our economy. So we're going to be using innovative and sustainable solutions like just what you did now, but probably even in deeper to contribute to, elevate the elevation of the sustainable cities and its defined key characteristics. So we've got different pillars. We've got 5 different pillars, and you can choose either one or you can choose multiple. It's entirely up to you. So the first pillar that we'll be talking about is energy and resource system. The second is the future of mobility, or future of mobility. Third can be sustainable buildings and infrastructure. Fourth is waste management and circular economy. And the fifth is nature and biodiversity. And I'm sure you all have heard about all of these terms. If you haven't, that's not a problem. Now would be a good time to look into these. So you can choose one, you can choose as many as you want. And yes, it would be great if it's site specific. So do look into all of these things. And before we actually dig deep into it, I've got a case study that I would like to discuss and share with all of you. So we would be focusing on one of these pillars, which is waste management and circular economy. So we've got Jody. Jody is the co-founder of Verticlay, which is a clay product that is made out of 100% waste materials and combining waste clays and avoiding food wastage. Food wastage, such a big issue, right? Everybody is guilty of wasting food, and it's something that all of us are tackling, right? Growing up, I'm sure everyone's grandparents and parents must have said, finish your food. Or yes, everyone has dealt with that. So such a basic thing, right? But such a big crisis. So we're going to learn more about this. And we've got Jody, who's the co-founder and a creative entrepreneur with a passion of sustainability and design. And guess what? She's one of the coaches with Arkki. So she started her journey with a very simple challenge. I mean, not simple challenge, but she started in a very simple way. She started with her uncle's backyard and she was like, hey, I'm going to start experimenting and coming up with different mixes and come up with her own concoction of what a recycled clay would look like. And thanks to COVID's isolation period, she actually used this to come up with her creative passion. So let's find out a little more about Jody's journey through this video.
Hi, I'm Jody and I'm a creative and design coach with Arkki. I'm also the creator and co-founder of Verticlay. Food waste is being discarded every single day, but it contains a lot of different kinds of nutritional properties. With our material, we are trying to solve the issue of food waste, specifically unavoidable food waste, by turning it into new products and pushing for a stronger circular economy. From food prep to cooked food to expired food, food waste is generated at every point of our consumption journey. We're trying to come in to rescue unavoidable food waste at every point and actually convert it into new products by leveraging on its nutritional value and create products that ultimately give back to the earth. Food mismanagement can be seen in how there are hotels serving daily banquets that result in exorbitant amounts of food waste, while there are several individuals out there that are just hoping to have a plate of simple bihun at the end of each day. So the journey started when I discovered a paper clay recipe that I found online, which consists of paper, flour and salt. But I actually found that using flour was very wasteful and it was attracting a lot of flies and mold. So from there I started to look around me for different kinds of waste materials that I had, and I found that eggshells, when you grind it up, it actually acts like a flour as well. And from there, my journey just started. I started to substitute materials for more eco-friendly and more nutritional ones instead. Our target audience for now is actually interior designers, industrial designers, product designers, sculptural artists even. And we're just looking for people that actually want to do a lot of prototyping. So when we talked to the early adopters that we had discovered that wanted to use our clay, we actually found out that they're actually looking for an easy way to transition into using more sustainable materials in their projects. So with that, they actually pointed out that usually for them so far, they've noticed that using more sustainable materials can be either very hard to find or very expensive. So originally we were looking into making gardenscape figurines that would fertilize plants, but upon discussions with my team, we actually realized that we could be solving much bigger issues. So we even talked about looking into making products for the agriculture industry, like seedling transplantation pots and so on. and also for the automotive industry that is always looking for lightweight materials to prototype and test with. In terms of our business model, we actually realized that we could be doing so much more social impact on top of the sustainable impact that we were making. So that caused us to actually look for ways that we can redesign our job processes to allow people from marginalized communities such as persons with disabilities to pick up new skills that would be contributing towards a valuable cause. And we realized that from there we can actually think of so many more other avenues and continuously expand not only our products but our business model itself. So I would say first thing is to expose yourself to different kinds of stories, to people, to products, to other ideas that are out there, and to especially not be confined to the issue and the solution that you might have already in mind. So when you talk to other people, you actually get different kinds of views and opinions which can inform your decisions and the ideation process better. And maybe the next thing would be also to look out for the neglected or things that are not so plainly obvious, because oftentimes you'll find that the solutions are all there. I was raised by my father to see value in the smallest of things. So whether it's a random piece of masking tape that he took off an old poster and kept aside, or an abandoned chair at the bottom of our void deck that was missing a few screws, I think his spirit of resourcefulness and creativity in looking at the value of neglected items is something that I valued a lot growing up. And I guess it's what kind of drove me into doing what I'm doing at Vertically now, which is rescuing the value found in food waste. I'm looking forward to see you all in our next session where I'll share a bit more about my prototyping experience. All the best and have fun!
How inspirational was that, right? Starting with this thing, just with the, it's really impressive. You start with something that you've always seen and actually doing something about it. That's very impressive. And I'm quite sure that, next week when Jody would be coming in, you'll have so many questions, and it's really impressive. But let's try to have a quick summary of what and how her design process was. She came up with a challenge, food wastage. She wanted to directly try and ideate the process. So she tried making up her own clay. And she realized that, okay, this is not working. There's a lot of wastage. She went back. She did research again. That's why our design thinking, I hope you all remember one of the first slides, going back and forth, iterating. It's a non-linear process. So then she again framed her challenge statement. She did more research. And like she said, she prototyped, make it. Remember the qualities a designer should have? Make it. So she actually prototyped it. And again, she failed at times, which is okay. She came up with new solutions. And that's when you actually fail in such places, it's better, right? You're failing with your team and you're coming up with different ideas rather than launching the product and then failing in the market. So it's a good way to actually test these. And of course, the whole process while she was researching. She realized that, hey, instead of just tackling this problem, we should actually open up our horizon. And that's where she became more social and tried to relate it in that way as well. So use the tips that Jody has given, get inspired by that, keep that in your mind always when you're coming up with your design solutions, and it's going to be super, super helpful. So from a summary overall, we're looking at the ideating phase, right? So for ideating, we really need to empathize. We need to define. I know most of you might have selected the pillar that you want to focus on, which is great. You might have assumptions about it. Write it down on a piece of paper. If you have an idea, you want to try it out, do that. Does it actually challenge your assumptions? Another point that Jody mentioned was try to find out the latent needs. Go beyond what is obvious. Try to find all of that. So that's where, again, your empathizing and understanding the problem will come into place. So what I want you all to do this week is to do as much research as you can. And of course, please don't just go and look at Wikipedia. You look at research papers from various universities, and you have all those on the web. So make use of that. Make use of all the different books that you have, everything. Empathize and start ideating. So from the research, translate your findings, your insights to understand user needs and issues, and how are you going to tackle it. All the ideas you come up with, write it down, try it, and that's what we can do. It's going to be fun. Another method that I would recommend you all doing is to observe people as well. If you have a prototype, if you want to test something, if you want to see how people actually react, do that. Observe people. When you observe people, they might say something else, but they might want something else. So it's really important to understand, what do they actually want or feel about certain things. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. So I hope all of you enjoyed the session today. And I know when you'll be starting with your research and ideating, there's going to be a lot of different patterns and sites and research, and it's probably going to be looking like this. It's going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, but that's good. That's part of the process. The more you have all this information, and by the end, you're going to have more clarity. So the chaos and confusion is good so far. So keep that. Always remember to document all your important points and keep it with you. Your designers, collaborate with your team, communicate. Okay. And with that, next week, we are going to be focusing on prototyping and defining idea, because I know all of you guys have ideas right now, and over the week, you'll have more ideas. So we are actually going to prototype them, and we'll have Coach Dhanan, who's extremely awesome, who's going to be taking you through that journey. So with that, I hope all of you enjoyed the session today, and I am looking forward to meeting you, all of you, again next week. So with that, back to you, Ting Ting.
Thank you, Coach Stuti, for the wonderful session. And actually, thank you, Coach Jody, as well, for taking us along your journey, which is a remarkable journey. And I think it's continuing in the right trajectory. So all the best to you. All right, we're coming near to the end of our session today. Just some housekeeping notices. May I ask that those of you who have not taken the survey, please can we spend 2 to 3 minutes right now doing so? The link has been sent to all of you via the email packs, the welcome pack. In fact, I think it's number 1 on our list. So please kindly spend a few minutes. Oh, it's also in the chat right now, right? In our Zoom chat. So please copy clip the link, go in and fill up a short survey of about six questions, I think, regarding our competition. How do you find out about us? What do you know about domestic prosperity? And what do you hope to learn from this? What issues really resonate with you? This is quite important for us, so that, you know, the next time we host a competition like this, we actually speak to your concerns and your ideals. Yeah. And while we are taking the survey, may I also request that all of us switch on our videos, because we would love for all of us to take a group picture. So bring on your million megawatt smiles. And once we finish our survey, our crew or tech crew over there, sitting over there, is going to take a snapshot of all of us, yeah, from everywhere that you're beaming in. Okay. And I must say that I was going through the responses you guys put in for Slido for the mashup game, and it was really quite insightful. I think some of you are onto a business idea even, yeah, making recycling into an entertainment or lifestyle choice. Okay, so please, when you put on your videos, practice your smiles a little bit. I know mine's a bit wonky from talking all day. Okay, well, thank you. I see some of you are logging into our surveys and filling it right now. We try and keep it as brief as possible, but we really want to find out what you really think. So that's really important. Let me go to the gallery view. Fantastic. I'm seeing a lot of beautiful faces with very interesting backgrounds. So I don't know, just maybe throwing out a question. How do you like our banner? Because we try to incorporate as many countries, the icons from many countries as possible. But we needed to give our design team a cutoff date, so we cut them off at April the 1st. So I think we have about 12 countries represented in our banners. Do you see your country represented there? All right, so thank you for filling the survey. Are we ready to take the pictures right now? Great, so, okay, just smile. So we're gonna snap. 3, 2, 1. Okay, go on to the next page. 3, okay, stop fixing your hair. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. We hope to see you next session. Please log in on time at 1 p.m. Coach Dana will be taking us through prototyping, and we're also going to have Bjorn Loh from Edible Gardens, CEO of Edible Gardens, as well as Tana Sullivan, from the head of sustainability from GoTo, to speak with us. So precious learnings. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Goodbye.